Good morning and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup with me, Niraj Shah. It's an eventful week. So remember, earnings season is gone by, but from amongst key events to watch out for this week, Fed Chair Jerome Powell will speak at the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. So comments from here will be very important ahead of the Fed policy in September. Most watched event, by the way. If you're an American, maybe even Kamala Harris's acceptance, but otherwise this one, most important event from a financial markets perspective. Banks of Indonesia, South Korea and China will assess key interest rates. Key to watch out for, particularly from an Asian perspective. Chinese EV makers will come out with numbers as well, and lots of things happening around China, especially because some of the EV makers are now setting up shop in Saudi Arabia to export to EU to thwart the EU restrictions on Chinese imports. SpaceX will test flies giant Starship booster yet again. Again, important from a US market, SpaceX stock, or rather the Elon Musk empire perspective, and just generally a key thing to watch. US markets ended well, futures are flat. Well, as in marginally higher, but futures are flat currently. Asia is a mixed bag. Across the board, there was a sea of red. Now, Hang Seng and Shanghai at least have gone up, but the likes of Nikkei, Kospi, ASX, etc., still treading caution, really, if you will. Now, the global news flow, spot gold has risen to over $25 a troy ounce for the first time ever. Oil is sitting about 2% lower on demand concerns and Gaza ceasefire talks as well. Though there are issues out there because Israel ally Azerbaijan is now starting or has held air defense drills after the Iran test, because there is a bit of a verbal duel in that between Israel and the others. Asian markets are taking a breather, like I said, after last week's rally. The implied open for today's session should be showing an uptick for sure. Now, this has got to do a lot with what our markets are doing, frankly. Remember, the whole of last week, we were talking about how quant indicators were indicating that there will be an upside. Some of those indicators are still suggesting that there is upside in store. So, but the direction certainly looks up. But the broader markets a lot more choppier if you look at the weekly performance versus what the Nifty has shown. In fact, even the bank Nifty, if you will, HDFC Bank led the charge higher. But there are multiple resistances for the Nifty bank ahead, and therefore important to see if it hits that pocket of resistance and comes off, or does it actually move higher, because it's important for the bank Nifty to do well, for the Nifty to continue to do well. Remember, most cues are out of the way. Look at what happened in Friday's session, right? HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank. After a long time, you saw HDFC Bank playing the key role in the market up move. Let's see if this were to continue or no. And from among sectors, really, shipbuilding stocks started to see some downsides. I mean, ignore this flattish performance, if you will, but largely if you see the week, some of these shipbuilding companies came off, and it'll be interesting to see if there is some downside there. Chartists certainly believe so. We'll ask them on television about whether they believe that there is more downside or no. Since earnings season is out of the way, a clutch of brokerages have come out with their equity strategy notes as well. MK, BofA, Citi. I've chosen Motilal. I've chosen the Citi note. So they say that the Nifty target is 25,000. The earlier June 25 target was 24,400 at about 19x PE multiple. Now they've raised it to 25, but they believe that the upsides are limited at the current levels, and therefore they will be buyer on dips. The BSE 100 EBITDA to earnings growth of 9 to 12% according to them is ahead of estimates. They believe staples, IT and communication saw subdued growth, but communication could be interesting because tariff hikes will aid Q2 onwards, and therefore that sector may not be as weak as some of the others. By the way, speaking of IT weak numbers, IT was the main index the whole of last week. So not necessarily that everything is following the earnings that have happened in Q2. Citi says that the Nifty earnings revision is now flattish versus upward revision earlier. So this certainly puts a question mark to the targets that people had at the start of the year, because Q1, because of the whole election, Achar Sahita, etc., hasn't quite delivered on earnings growth in a meaningful way. But their target is about 25,000. So bear that in mind. Stocks to watch today, not a very long list, but I'll try and highlight a few. By the way, okay, let's start with Maruti Suzuki. The company said we'll see a one-time PAT impact of 850 crores in Q2. This is because the budget removed the indexation benefits on debt mutual funds. So it's a one-time impact, but it's a large one. May see a bit of a downtick, which I think will get recovered. There is also something that you need to do yourself. We'll try and do it, of course, on the channel in the day. But other cash-rich companies which may also face some similar issues because of if they are parking in debt mutual funds. So Bear that in mind when Maruti's come out and said this. Let's see if there's a bit of a negative impact here. Genus Power, ARM has gotten 3 orders worth 2,926 crores to supply and install 37.5 lakh smart prepaid meters. Watch out for this one in the session today. I also want to mark a couple of newspaper reports. So I think there is a newspaper report in Mint about Adani Power buying one power station worth about 600 megawatts. So that might keep that stock in focus. So keep in mind Adani Power as well. Then Electronic Smart India, bunch of mutual funds have bought into it. FTI for Franklin Templeton, Norges Bank, SBI Mutual Fund, all of them have bought into a stake that was sold by one particular individual from a promoter entity, I believe. So watch out for Electronic Smart India. Good smart investors have gotten in, large investors have gotten in. Let's see if it brings about some stock reaction or no. Some brokerage notes on Voltas because it came out with Q1 results formally. And Nomura, Jefferies, Kotak is a sell, but I've chosen the Nomura note. It sounds the most interesting. They have a buy rating with the target price raised to 1857 versus 1511. They are saying that the Q1 beat is led by the projects business. The company is focusing on expanding leadership. Most important line is aside of the fact that they are raising the unitary cooling products, which is the air conditioning business revenue growth estimates by 30% in FY25. They're raising the EPS estimates for FY25 and 26 by about 10%. So their target price is at 1857. The current price 1535. Kotak is a sell, by the way, so keep that in mind. Then HSBC is coming to the note on Shriram Finance. They are saying that the buy rating target price raised to 3600 from 3340. They say it's competitively well positioned amongst NBFCs. The company is in its most convincing operating period in over a decade, and the stock still retains several re-rating triggers. Watch out for Shriram Finance. May see some further upticks as well. Never know. The target price is 3600 from 3340. Some price volume buzzers from last week. So Pokarna had the highest weekly volumes in price momentum. So did EPL and so did Triveni Turbines. So each of these names should be kept in mind. Triveni Turbines, I think, has had 8 straight sessions of an uptick. Watch out for this one. Kitex Garments could be interesting. The highest weekly volumes and a decadal breakout for this stock. After 10 years, it has reached this price. Could be interesting. We'll ask about these stocks to our experts today. Some major exits by mutual funds in the month of July included a Vascon, Borosil, Sieram Silk Mills and Shilchar. So watch out for some of these as well. I'll bring in the major buys in the month of July in tomorrow's trade setup, by the way. And do remember that we are closer to the Fed rate cut cycle than last week, and therefore market optimism should not be mistaken as a complacent action or a dead cat bounce. There might be merit to this rally. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup today.